And Park Hyun Kyung, she's been one of my golfers to watch in this event. She's still carrying that 5 under. She led yesterday and then had a bogey on the 18th, which got her back down into a tied first. Otherwise, she was in very, very good stead of actually nailing the contest and keeping that leaderboard with a change. She's an absolutely lovely golfer to watch in action. Very, very focused, very sincere. Doesn't not as cheery as some of the other golfers, but when the event is over, she is. So Im Jin Hee now on to her fourth. Remember, it was going to be a tad bit difficult, and she. I love spectators. Absolutely love them. What would our lives be without them? If you think about it, absolutely fantastic, and especially for an event like this, where the girls have been pulled down to the wire. They've been tested mentally and physically. Lee Chae-yoon too, who was a leader for 2 whole rounds. She's on to her second stroke. Going to get the leaderboard up for you. We're also going to have a look at some of the statistics as far as the golfers are concerned. Bai So-hyun and Park have been such a revelation to watch, but it's really Bai So-hyun who is such a massive star, and she's currently, of course, ruling the roost, if you ask me. She's done excellently well. She came up yesterday out of the, I'm not going to say out of the blue, but out of the green, and really decided to challenge all the other golfers. Lee So-young, she's on to her second stroke for hole number 10, and she too, along with Bai So-hyun, claiming the top spot. These have been the movers. I'm not going to say the shakers, but these have been the movers. They kind of sat a bit, in the background on round 1, round 2. They were there. You saw them in glimpses, and then of course round 3, just breaking out of the open. So before I get down to the leaderboard, of course, I do want to have a look at the weather conditions as well. When we came here, it was a tad bit chilly in the morning. And that's what you call afraid of the dark, isn't it? That is one ball that is definitely afraid of the dark. And just needs a tad bit of coaxing. Just a gentle tap in there. And I think that should just finish it off. Does require to. So that'll just do the job for the time being. Bang Shin-sil finishes with an on par for hole number 14. She's at 5 birdies here today. Really stepping up her performance. 5 underscore that she's carrying. So when we got here in the morning, there was partially cloudy sky, especially when the dawn patrol and the dew sweepers were, just about gracing the course. Remember, we're using the east and west coast for the pinks, at the pinks, and right here in Jeju-do. Temperature is currently at about 19 degrees Celsius, but in the morning it felt more like it was about 16 or 17. No rainfall predicted for today, but 2.6 miles. Well, that's the wind speed. I do believe that the wind speed on day 2 was really, really a lot. They said 4.1. It looked like it was up to about 8 or 9. But Bai So-hyun now, of course, on to finish with an on par on hole number 9, and she does that just to maintain her score. So I was correct about that. The temperature was about 12 degrees when we got here in the morning at about 8 o'clock. And then, of course, it started climbing, and, it's now, of course, it's about 19. It might, of course, dip down to about 17 to 14 degrees Celsius by the evening. Wind speeds, of course, as I said, aren't as bad as they were on day 2. Good spot there on the carpet. Just what the doctor ordered, I would believe. Lee So-young will be happy about that. She too has had a few challenges, but Park Hyun Kyung, I did say this, she was my choice of golfer to watch, but she's had a few troubles as well. She was great on day 3. On to stroke number 3 for hole number 10. And she's still with a 5 under. Anytime soon she can, of course, change that. Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful placement by Park Hyun Kyung. Now keep in mind the fact that we've got, of course, 2 golfers in there who are in tied first. And that is, of course, Lee So-young and Bae So-hyun. Both have 6 under. They finished their 10th hole so far. So I do believe it's going to be interesting to see this contest brewing. Oh, that is a marvelous shot. Is that going to go in? And what a miss! What an absolute miss. And she's given us so many moments like that, Lee Chae-yoon too. Absolutely, absolutely phenomenal. Well, I so wish that ball had just dipped in. It just kissed the rim. It didn't even lip out. It just kissed the rim. And I love Lee Chae-yoon too for one thing in this tournament. She's been all smiles. Even though she's led, even though she's fallen off the grade, even though she's gone into 2nd and 3rd position, she's just been in a very, very cheery mood. Lee Seung-yeon now with her 2nd. She hasn't had the brightest time. She's had many challenges. Decent placement here on the green. I think that should kind of put her in contention for a birdie. We'll need to work just a tad bit for it. And while I sip on my green tea, it's tee off time once again. And she's driven that nice and strong. Great angle towards the left. I think I'll have to find out where that lands. And I do believe it looks like it's hit the rough. I don't know whether it landed on the beach. I couldn't get a clear view of it, but it certainly looks like it's got itself into a tad bit of a sticky spot there. Now Lee So-young goes next. Aiming for birdie on hole number 10. That's going to crawl. Oh, that's just a Cuban for her, isn't it? Also teeing off now with Im Jin-hee for hole number 10. She sits in tied 2nd, along with Park Hyun Kyung, Lee Chae-yoon 2, and tied 3rd, and Bang Shin-sil, 4 of them in there. Not a bad spot on the fairways for her. I was just talking about green tea, and just to make there's something really important I have to tell you about Jeju-do, and that's absolutely phenomenal. But right now, Park Hyun Kyung will aim for birdie here, and that's on hole number 10. Oh, wonderfully done. And she's back up and tied first, along with Lee So-young and Bae So-hyun. She's joint leader there with a 6 under. I did say this. She was the golfer that I was going to follow right through this. She's impressed me, but it could be different for other. I do like her style of play. She's got a very, very focused, kind of serious style, but she's produced some great shots. And Lee Chae-yoon too, my other choice, of course. She's been absolutely phenomenal. Aims for birdie here, and there it is. She too gets herself up now into joint first. This is becoming a battle. Well, I shudder to think if this goes down to a tie, and then there has to be, of course, extra time thrown in. But for the time being, we have to keep in mind the fact that this, of course, is really what the doctor ordered. You wanted to see a contest, and you've got it here. And may the best lady cap it off for the win. Lee Seung-yeon now. Well, aiming for birdie there, but just a tad bit of a worry for her. Well, always spoken about, some of the holes that can be really tricky. Here's the 11th hole. If you look at it, of course, it's a par 4 for the asking. 346 meters is what we are actually looking at. And it can be, well, a bit of a worry when you're, looking at the entire course. The sand bunkers on the right and the left, if you notice. And right there to the front, of course, you look at that 150, 130, the 90-meter mark. It depends on how your drive is. And some golfers, of course, can drive really far. A tad bit of a worry, I would think, with those two bunkers just at the start of the green towards the left, because there's a bit of a slope down there, and that uneven surface can account for. There, you can actually see it right from about 60 or 65% up into the green, and there on the carpet there's a downward incline, and on the other edges as well, it's pretty much the same. Lee Chae-yoon too. I did say this, I do love the fact that she's been, well, in such great spirit, and it does so well for the other golfers. Park Hyun-kyung getting ready to tee off as well, and she's on hole number 11. She's kept off the green, she's kept off the rough, she's got herself back onto the fairways. Absolutely wonderful, Park Hyun-kyung. And you finally see her break into a bit of a smile. Don't see that too often. Lee So-young goes on next. She too has been a silent worker right there in the background. I've always said this, Im Jin-hee, one of those golfers that I watched, never too flamboyant. She doesn't have a swagger. She doesn't have, doesn't spill attitude. She just does it like a regular day at the office. It's a regular job to do. So Lee So-young will tee off for hole number 11, 346 meters. She's also a joint leader. And one of the things I do love about, golfers like Lee So-young and Im Jin-hee, they just keep chipping away, regardless. I don't mean literally chipping off, the rough, but just keep chipping away at the contest. And they do it in such a manner that it almost seems like a regular job. You're paid to do a good job. You come there, you do it, and you get on with it. And that's one of the wonderful things about golfers. Each and every golfer is a character in their own right, and I mean it in the best sense, not in the detrimental way. Im Jin-hee, here she is with her second stroke on hole number 10, 260 meters to the hole. Up next, it's Bae So-hyun, also joint leader, onto a second stroke for hole 10. 247 meters is what she's looking at to her destination. So the 15th hole, of course, poses its own worries. 343 meters is what we're looking at. Three hundred 46 meters on hole number 11. Lee Chae-yoon too. Not very excited about that shot. Lee So-young going in for a second stroke on hole number 11. 130 meters to the hole. Well, she's got herself onto the green, but that's going to be, well, a bit of a stretch actually getting down. A birdie might just be a tad bit out of the contention, but she's definitely got herself a chance to finish with an on par. Hwang Jun-mi, we haven't seen too much of her, but here she is with her second stroke on hole 12 using an 8 iron as she's carrying a 3 under par score. That's an absolutely delightful shot. Absolutely delightful shot from her. And it's just that so many of our golfers do take, their own bit of time to get set up. Park Hyun-kyung onto a second stroke for hole 11. And that's going to roll a tad bit away from the flagstick. It's going to be a bit of a stretch for her. So as long as you don't bogey your shots and, at this part of the contest, I think you're fine. Because on day 4, the last thing you want to do is you have a square there on your scorecard and it just changes everything morale-wise too. Bae So-hyun up next. Lovely shot, but that uneven surface is just going to drag it a tad bit away from the can. And what a revelation she was. Just sat humbly, round 1, round 2, round 3. She became a trailblazer, and here she is, as a joint leader. Bang Shin-sil next. Will aim for birdie here on hole number 15. Has to chip that out of the, cat box, and I think she's done fairly well. She can finish with an on par, keep that score intact. I think that'll be very important. Here's Im Jin-hee now. Got a good bit of a whip on that. Well, that's just carried a little bit more than I think she expected. Just a tad bit too much of club on it, but I don't think she's going to be too sad about that. Let's get a quick look at that leaderboard just to figure out where we stand, and it's going to give us a feeler as well. So Choi Kar-bin, of course, sitting there in tied 7th. Let's run through the top first. Lee Chae-yoon, 2, Park Hyun-kyung, Lee So-young, and Bae So-hyun are in tied first with a 6 under score. Then in tied 5th, you got Bang Shin-sil and Im Jin-hee, who are 5 under. In tied 7th, you've got Sung Yoo-jin and Choi Yoo-rim with 4 under. And then tied 9th, you've got an entire quintet there of Hwang Yoo-min, Kim Min-byul, Choi Kar-bin, Hwang Jun-mi, and Lim Hee-jeong. They are carrying a 3 under. So that should sum up our top for the time being. We've got a couple of other golfers in there, of course, who've also got, their own bits and bobs to worry about. But for the time being, I do believe what really matters to us currently is these particular golfers and how they perform. So, all said and done, it's going to be interesting to see what changes are instituted in the next, few holes. So, keep your eyes on the course with that big battle, that 4-way battle that's running right now. I wouldn't speculate about anything, but I think Park Hyun-kyung, Lee So-young, and Bae So-hyun, and Lee Chae-yoon too, they've all got a very strong chance. They've been the defining, factors in this tournament, and I wouldn't put anything away from Im Jin-hee. I still think that she's a strong contender here. So left to be seen in the next few holes, of course, will tell us a bit of a story. Got a good bit of birds in the air. Always a fan of them. So back to the action here. Imogen He will go on next. She aims for birdie on hole number 10. Oh. That ball, afraid of the dark, but it's going to be enough for her to finish with an on par. I do think she deserved a birdie on that, and she knows it too. And sometimes you've just got to, well, soak it all in and, well, carry on. Park Hyun Kyung aims for birdie on hole number 11. It's going to be a bit of a stretch for her, but I think she will attempt it. She is capable of coming out with stellar shots. And that's almost. Almost. Meanwhile, at the other end, Bang Shun-sil looking to finish on par for hole number 15. And yes, she does. Just as you can see today, I did mention this on day 4, you're just going to see, you know, the best golfers put in their best performances. But I do believe that the weather conditions on round 2 just upset most of them. And yesterday, many of the golfers were being extra cautious, not taking any risks at all. And that's why the low scores that we saw. Bae So-hyun gets ready for birdie on hole number 10. She too will be playing, well, a tad bit of a cautious game, but there's a lot more confidence that the golfers are exuding here today, and it could be, of course, a very, very good, well, finish for Bae So-hyun as well. She's impressed. She has impressed. And today, it's not about, you know, nailing those birdies. It's about not making those mistakes right here at the Pinks Golf Course in Jeju-do. So, aiming for birdie on hole number 11, Lee So-young. And that's another Cuban for her. Well, it happened a number of times. Happened about 5 times to her yesterday. Today, this is about the 3rd time. But she's finished with an on par, so she's not going to worry too much about that. She'll still keep her, well, co-leadership intact. Meantime, Lee Chae-yoon too. She's on to hole 11 as she aims for birdie. Very similar position that Park Hyun Kyung was in. Lee Chae-yoon too needs to be very cautious with this one. She cannot afford to drop points, and she knows that just as well as anybody else. And that's well done. So she's managed to keep well, herself together. And I think that's so important, and that's what I meant. She's always got a smile on her face. She's a cheery golfer. And it's just wonderful to watch. You need golfers who are serious, of course, and who don't smile too much and who are reserved. And they need golfers who actually play to the galley. And here's Bai So-hyun on to finish with an even score on hole number 10. So well done by her. On to the 12th hole. We're looking at 379 meters. It's a par 4 for the asking. Remember, it's just a sand bunker there on the approach route. And well, it's not too much of a daunting, hole to conquer. But there's two things you've got to keep in mind. That bunker that sits at the right-hand corner on the approach to the carpet, and then of course at the top left-hand corner. And then you don't want to get your ball too far into the green, because there's that slope there. One, of course, a tricky slope that goes towards the left, and then the one that draws backwards down. Here's Park Eun-kyung as she gets ready to tee off for hole number 12. Absolutely fine form and follow through. She's got herself onto a good spot on the fairways, I would believe. And that's what is really required. Also teeing off, it's Im Jin-hee for hole number 11. Remember, as I said earlier, it's a par 4 for the asking. And she's got herself onto the beach. She's just going to have to tan for a little bit. Lee Chae-yoon too tees off for hole number 12. I think that's going to be an interesting one for her. Keep in mind the fact that she's had her own trials as well in this event, after leading for 2.5 days. Meanwhile, Lee So-young gets ready to tee off. And that's also for hole number 12. Well, she's just got a good bit of applause there, but I think she's just going to sit in between the rough and the green for the time being. She too has just kept, going about her work in a very, very meticulous manner. Bai So-hyun will tee off for hole number 11. She's just been confident, hasn't she? And she's, well, that drive, absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic drive from her. Well, that's drawn close. Very, very close to the, well, destination. Absolutely wonderful shot from her there. And I think she's going to be a happy camper. On to hole number 16. It's a par 5 for the asking. Bang Shin-sil. She's on to Well, her third stroke for hole number 16. It's been an interesting one for her as well, if you think about it. Hole 16, of course, has, that water hazard that sits right there, in front of the green on the approach. And, well, all golfers normally get past it, but then there's just one or two that yesterday did manage to hit the banks of that water hazard, as in they didn't get into the water, but it was just there on the slope. Back to Lee Chae-yoon 2. Decent enough placement there on the green. And here goes Lee So-young. Oh, absolutely delightful shot from Lee So-young once again, and she has delighted right through, and so has this young lady, Park Hyun-kyung. And, well, I'm always, praising our cameraman for this wide angle and aerial shots. Absolutely love them. Needing to get out of the beach right now. Here's Im Jin-hee. She would not want to jeopardize her chances. She's taken a fairly good, packed in a good bit of power into that. And it will be interesting to see how she fares on that hole. Meanwhile, Park Hyun-kyung on to her second stroke for hole 12. She's got a divot there as well. Bit of a chilly dip, if you ask me. And just inside the carpet area. By So-hyun on next. Up next, here goes Choi Ka-bin aiming for birdie on hole number 13. And she's done well there. A birdie on hole 13 takes her to a 4 under score. So Lee Chae-yoon 2, Park Hyun-kyung, Lee So-young and Bae So-hyun still in tied first with 6 under, Bang Jin-sil and Im Jin-hee in tied 5th with 5 under, and Sung Yoo-jin, Hwang Jung-mi with 4 under and tied 7th, along with Choi Ka-bin. In tied 10th, you've got the trio of Hwang Yoo-min, Kim Min-byul and Choi Ye-rim, who are carrying a 3 under score, and in tied 13th, of course, Yoo So-yeon 2, along with her counterparts. So interesting battle here for us. Do stay with us as we continue with our coverage of the SK Networks Seoul Economics Ladies Classic. Keep in mind the fact that we do have, of course, total prize money that we are looking at, which is approximately, or not approximately, totally 800 million Korean won, and that's about 588,560 US dollars. I hope my conversion was right, but it's close to that. Lee So-mi, of course, won this tournament last year, but this year she's dipped out. Wasn't really the best outing for her. The main winner, of course, will take home 105,883 US dollars, which is approximately 144 million Korean won. The second place, or the runner-up, will go home with 88 million won, and of course, the second runner-up will take home 64 million won. So that's pretty much how it stands. It's over to Im Jin Hee. Remember, she got herself well onto the rough when she got out of that cat box. And that's exactly what we are looking at currently. Well, she'll have to aim to finish this on par, and she'll have to be very cautious about it if she wants to keep her score intact for the time being. Meanwhile, here's Lee Chae-yoon too. We'll aim for birdie on hole number 12. Oh, what a miss. What a terrible miss. That banana will just moving away from its destination, and she knows it. What a good chance to have nailed it, but she still can finish with an on par. Bae So Hyun is on up next. I do believe she's done fairly well to stay in the reckoning. But she's got to start. Well, it's this at this point that you really want to start stepping up your performance just a tad bit. I think the ladies have done extremely well today. Park Yun Kyung aiming for birdie on hole number 12. That's as close can get. She knows she could have finished it. All it needs, of course, is a tap in to keep an even score. I think she's just going to do that. Well, she's in a much better, better temperament today, I'd say, on the course. Now, Im Jin Hee, she needs to finish this on par. She'll have to be careful because there's a tad bit of an uneven surface there. And the last thing you want to do is bogey right here on hole number 11. And that's a tad bit unfortunate for her. It was going to be difficult from there because there was a bit of a slope going downwards. Lee So-young needs to get her own piece of the pie here. That's just done a U-turn, hasn't it? Haven't seen too much of that here on the course. She'll finish with an on par. I don't think she's going to be too well concerned, but definitely disappointed because it was such a chance to have nailed that. Meanwhile, it's on to hole 16 where Bang Shun-sil will aim for birdie. Remember, she's got to do what she can because she's just got 2 more holes after this, and that'll be an even score for her as well. .352 meters for the 13th hole. Well, no tricky spots there except those 2 bunkers right towards the end. And then, of course, that slopey area, you've got to be really careful of that on the carpet because that really turns everything else around. Up next, Lee Chae-yoon 2. She seems to be happy with her, well, effort here. And Bang Chen-sil will cap that off with an even score. She's got 2 more holes to go, I do believe. Meanwhile, Lee So-young will tee off here for hole number 13. 352 meters for the asking. She also is a joint leader. By Sehyun on next to tee off for hole number 12. And that's hole number 17. I do love it because it's got that beautiful Kia EV9. Not promoting the car, but it always reminds me of Star Wars. It's a perfect vehicle for a stormtrooper on Earth. Now, here we go, of course. Bang Chen-sil doing her own bit. Hole number 13, 352 meters is what we are looking at. Park Hyun-kyung on her second stroke for hole 13. Got a lovely follow through. Absolutely marvelous shot from her. Absolutely marvelous shot. She's been defining, well, everything here today. She's been in stellar form, this young golfer. And much is expected from her. Lee Chae-yoon too, up next. Oh, and that sailed out of bounds and into the woods. Ah, that's just a tad bit unfortunate here for Lee Chae-yoon. Well, I don't think she was expecting that, and that's a bit of a tad bit of a worry. She will have, of course, a penalty most probably for that. I don't think that that's what she was expecting. So a bit unfortunate for her. Lee So-young next. Lee So-young will be happy with her efforts. Bang Chen-sil, she'll be happy about her well move here today. By So-hyun getting ready at her end. Kept it fairly straight. A good bit of wrist on that, not too much of a swing with the arm. And while we do have this, of course, let's not forget that we are looking at one key aspect, and that's Lee Chae-hyun trying to figure out what she's going to be doing with her efforts. There we have the leaderboard once again. Lee Chae-hyun 2 with 6 under. Park Hyun-kyung and Lee So-young in the final round. And they are up there in tied first. Bang Chun-sil, Bae So-hyun are now, of course, in tied fifth with 5 under. And, you know, things are just changing constantly when you think about it. And it's going to be interesting to see, well, what happens. So Lee Chae-hyun too, she's definitely got to get herself out of the rough. And that's very, very important because Park Hyun-kyung and Lee So-young are still keeping their momentum together. Bae So-hyun, of course, had to drop down to that 5 under. It's going to be interesting to see, well, how well the ladies really will perform in the next couple of holes. So do stay with us, don't go anywhere. This is the SK Network Seoul Economics Ladies Classic, and we are going to be sticking with you right through till the end of the day. My name is Glenn Mascarenas, and I do hope that you are enjoying the action that we are bringing right there to your screens. I would have said the hunt for Red October, but it's more likely the hunt for that ball that just went out of bounds and into the woods, and there they've spotted it. Sits there like, well, a fresh egg that was laid by a pheasant or one of the birds. And really, I think what Lee Chae-yoon has to do is, of course, try to figure out whether, she can get a stroke. She get a stroke penalty, or she's just going to take it out of the woods. The last thing you want to do is, at this point of the contest, you don't want to play lumberjack. And I think she's going to try and avoid that as well. So it's interesting. Bang Chun-sil, she's on to her, looking for an on-par finish, and she's going to land up bogeying that, which is a bit unfortunate for her. Meanwhile, here's Lee So-young. So the change in the leaderboard, of course, will take place a couple of times over. But what's really important is to see, what they can come up with here today. I think she's really gauging the situation well. She wants to try and figure out, if she can actually take that shot. It's very important. And it's going to be tricky for her. Very, very tricky for her. And that's close to the flagstick, but it's really getting out of that. And that's really the problem behind that. Behind the carpet, isn't it? It's that huge slope, and that's where the ball carried straight out. Took the spectators by surprise as well. And the officials just having a word there. And I think she's going to take a stroke penalty. Well, it seems like it. We'll start off where she's, had that last shot from the last stroke. I do believe. Bang Chun-sil. She'll bogey that, and that drops her down to a 4 under. It's a tad bit unfortunate for her because she's just got one more hole to go. The last thing you want to do is bogey that on the 17th. Meanwhile, Park Hyun-kyung aims for birdie on hole number 13. And that's just played truant, hasn't it? And she knows it. She's definitely disappointed about that. That was so close. Meanwhile, yes, Bae So-hyun also needs to aim for birdie out of the rough. She'll try and keep an even score on this one, I do believe. Lee So-young looking for an on-par finish for hole number 13. And she's done it to keep her score intact, and I think that that's a good thing. That's exactly what is required at this point of time. You just want to avoid those bogeys at all costs. Bae So-hyun on next to finish on par for hole number 12. And that's just turned away, hasn't it? Well, not what she was expecting for certain. So Lee Chae-yun too, well, taking a stroke penalty. That's going to just disturb her entire, well, momentum, but she's happy that she's gone about it. Lee Seung-yun aiming for birdie on hole 14. Can she do it? That's a big one. And yes, she has. Absolutely marvelous effort from her. Exactly what was needed. Beautifully done. Meanwhile, Park Hyun-kyung needs to finish this with an even score. And yes, she does. So she stays with Lee Se-hyung up there. Lee Chae-yun too will definitely, well, dip down from that tied first, because she will land up probably bogeying, well, her effort. Bai So-hyun, meanwhile, will bogey the 12th hole, which means she drops to a 4 under as well. She's had bogeys on the 11th and 12th. She's still got 6 holes to prove her worth, but for golfers like Bang Chun-sil, you pretty much know you've just got 1 hole left to play. And that's going to go in. Well, sheer bit of delight here. Well, all eyes on this golfer. I do feel a tad bit awful for her, because this is going to be a tough one, and it looks like she's going to double bogey that, which means she'll drop to a 4 under. It's, well, painful. She's been such a wonderful golfer to watch right through this entire event. So I can't help but feel a tad bit sorry for her. Bang Chun-sil on to her 18th, and this is of course one of the trickiest holes of all, because that, well, carpet slopes in all different directions. And this is really where, you know, you want to finish it off well. You want to come in with your strongest, well, efforts. And Lee Chae-yun too, finally, a double bogey there. She'll drop down to 4 under. She'll still keep that smile. Absolutely love her for that. But, well, that puts her in a bit of a sticky situation, because she's dropped down the pecking order now. And as we can see, of course, we'll have a few changes in the leaderboard standings. And I think that's very important. It's very important to keep, well, tabs on where you are and where your opponents are, you know, for the time being. So on to the 14th hole. And this one, of course, is 166 meters, a par 3 for the asking. You've just got to get over those waterways and that rocky area. Now, not too difficult. Most golfers, of course, will land up right there on the green itself. 166 meters, but look at that. That slope. It slopes inwards, it slopes outwards, it slopes every single way. So you want to try and keep it probably to the middle of the green, more or less. And I think that could put you in good stead. You also got to avoid that bunker. There's a chance that a lot of the golfers will do hit that bunker at the start of the green. Getting ready to tee off. Park Hyun-kyung. Good bit of a whip on that one. Oh, wonderful effort from her. Once again, she'll have to work for that birdie, but I think it's a wonderful effort from her. Wang Zhongmi finishes with a birdie on hole 15. She's up to a 5 under. Lee So-young going with her best effort. And she too's got an absolutely fantastic well placement there on the green. So that's the leaderboard. Park Hyun-kyung and Lee So-young right up there at the top with 6 under. Wang Zhongmi is in a third with, of course, a 5 under, and tied fourth Bong Chun-sil, Sung Yoo-jin, Choi Ka-bin, Lee Chae-young too. So there's a definite change there now in the leaderboard standings. And I do believe it's very important because it's going to tell us a bit of a story going ahead into this contest. So Lee Chae-yoon too, she's had her challenges here today. It's been a very trying day for her at the office. Talking about trying, I've shifted my attention from green tea to coffee. It's something that our golfers, especially the women's golfers, do love. And you see that normally at the end. It's always the 19th hole for the gentlemen. But for the ladies, I would call it the 18 and a half hole because they normally do love their coffee, whether it's a frappe, a mochaccino, a mocha. Lady golfers, or women's golfers, always, it's one of their chosen beverages, isn't it? When they finished, of course, the day's event. I do love my shot of coffee too. I was talking about tea a while back here, right here in Jeju. And if you didn't know this, Jeju produces some of the finest green tea that you can actually buy. It's got a sweet finish to it. And, if you're a fan of green tea like I am of Japanese green, but Korean green tea has its own charm. It's got a grassy flavor to it. You also get amazing teas in this area like hydrangea, buckwheat. So Jeju always for produce, some of the finest produce in this part of Korea. I absolutely love it. As you can see the background in there, that mountainous region, let me tell you a little bit about that as well. When this golf course was constructed, now what you're looking at is the Halasan Mountain. And then, of course, there's the ocean on the other side, and there's the volcanic cones that unfold like a panorama, and that's what you can see, right there in the background. Keep in mind the fact that the Spinks Golf Club was nominated by the U.S. Golf Digest and U.S. Golf World in 2005 as one of the most beautiful and best 100 golf courses in the world. It became the first Korean course to actually make that cut. And furthermore, of course, it's raised the level of Korean golf to global standards. Was designed by Theodore Robinson, who's designed over 170 golf courses around the world. Was very passionate about fusing together old world, golf architecture along with the 21st century look. And in 2008-2010, when the European Tour Valentine Championship was held for the first time here, the course had bunkers and various obstacles added to suit the level of professional golfers. And since then, it's always been about requiring accurate iron shots on most holes. And we've seen that. The choice of clubs here is really very important. And most golfers have exploited that, to get to where they are in that top 5 or top 10 standing on the leaderboard. Bangchan Sil aiming for birdie here. It is a bit of a stretch. Remember, it's hole number 18. And that ball is carrying. Oh, I do wish it would have carried in the right direction for her. I really do wish. Lovely effort from Bangchan Sil. So looks like she will finish with an on par here. Meanwhile, Lee Chae-yun too, who's had such an amazing time. Such a trying time. She's on to hole number 14. Aims for birdie. She'll narrowly miss it. So Bangchan Sil, well, she's put in her best effort. We always talked about how she's got that lovely swagger when she walks. She's been, well, exemplary to watch in action. Yes, Park Hyun-kyung back again. I do remember she was very good mates, Park Hyun-kyung, with Park Ji-young, if I'm not mistaken. Or Ji-young Park. Well, Ji-young Park, of course, do see her very often in the KLPGA. Here's Park Hyun-kyung going in for a birdie on hole number 14. It's very important for her. Oh, that's delightful, which means she claims the top spot. Oh, what a delight. Now the leader there with a 7 under score. She's got to be very careful now. She's got 4 more holes to go. She's been in good form, Park Hyun-kyung. Lee Se-young next. So the new leader, she took that spot yesterday and then of course had, well, a bit of a worry there on her 18th hole. And she's really excited about that. Lee Se-young, she's done well here. She needed that very badly, so she's a joint leader. And she's had a birdie on the 14th as well, keeping tabs with Park Hyun-kyung. That's what she's doing. So just looking back at the current list, and on week 43 in the KLPGA championship, of course, Park Min-ji was ranked to 1. And that's such a fine birdie from her. So Im Jin-hee, of course, did win the Sang-sung-in Han-kyung TV Open, and that was played out in week 42. We've got Bangchan Sil, who also won on week 41 at the 2023 Dongbu Construction Korea Championship. Park Hyun-kyung, I don't believe that she's picked out a win here in 2023 as yet. Just running through the list to have a double check on that. Interestingly, Park Hyun-kyung hasn't, so this will be her first win in the year, and that's going to be interesting for her if she can, of course, win it. Lee Won, of course, was right up there in the rankings for a bit, but now Park Min-ji is ranked number 1 for the time being. And that's interesting. Lee So-young, well, she's driven that hard and she's driven that fairly well. She is, well, challenging that title win here today. And she's done extremely well. Meanwhile, here's Wang Jong-mi. A third stroke on hole number 16. 97 meters to the hole is what we're looking at. The divot there. I think that's a good effort from her. It's an absolutely good effort from her and a chance for her, well, to just sail on to higher ground. Oh, that is placement. Perfection guaranteed there. Straight off on hole number 17. Oh, things have changed here so drastically and things are moving pretty fast. The WeMix Championship 2023, the KLPGA WeMade Point Award. Totally 20 million won will be awarded. And 500,000 WeMix. So the first place, of course, takes home 90,000 WeMix points. The season's final finale where the top 24 WeMix points compete for the true champion. November 18th to 19th. It'll be done at the Hyundai Beach Golf and Resort in Busan, South Korea. A lot of my friends, of course, do love Busan and Seoul very much. It's not like I don't, but my two favorite spots in Korea will always be, well, Jeonju and especially Jeju. Absolutely love it to come here and relax. It's just a wonderful place to be in. Serene, quiet, something that I like a lot. Park Ji-young. Haven't had too much of a glimpse of her, but she's on to her second hole. Remember what I said, we've got 98 qualifiers and 4 invitees in this tournament. And Park Ji-young will finish off her 18th hole in just a little bit, but here's Choi Yi-rim aiming for birdie on hole 17. She was one of our top runners and main contenders yesterday. Well, she just fell behind, with a couple of obstacles here today. She's on 3 under. Could have just made that 4 under, but she'll settle for an even score. Meanwhile, yes, Park Hyun-kyung. That's another decent spot, I would believe, on the green. Something that I like about Park Hyun-kyung is, I do remember she was world number 92 back then. And when, golf action returned to the Korean Republic, and that was way back when we were looking at the pandemic, in 2020. Park Yun-kyung won the KLPGA championship, and she joined the country's professional baseball and football leagues to restart sport in the coronavirus pandemic. She was just 20 years back then, 20 years old. Which means she's barely about 23 now, and she'd signed that off for the second successive round of 5 under 67s. She beat Lim Hee-jong and Bai Seon-woo at that time at the Lakewood Country Club in Yangju. It was quite an event, and I remember it. It's still very fresh in my memory. Here we go down to the 18th hole, 374 meters. It's par 4 for the asking. Sung Yoo-jin is on to, well, her second stroke for hole 18. She's got herself onto the green. Lee So-young, meanwhile, gone from strength to strength, been very confident in her efforts. Here she is. Beautiful placement again for hole number 15, right there on the green. Meanwhile, yes, Kim Min-byul. And she'll accept it gracefully. She finishes with a birdie on hole number 17. She's carrying a 3 under score. Park Hyun-kyung, Lee So-young still out there aiming for higher glory. So the contest continues here. It's still a three-way battle that we're looking at. And it's going to be interesting because right now, well, it's anyone's event to win or lose. And I do believe that there is a lot to take from it. So Park Hyun-kyung and Lee So-young still there with, tied first with 7 under. Hwang Jung-mi, of course, now is in third with 5 under. But Lee Chae-yoon 2, Sung Yoo-jin, Bong Chun-sil, all with, 4 under. So if you're looking at it, from a different perspective, I think it's been a bit of a worry for a couple of our golfers. Im Jin-hee herself has also dipped out after bogeying a shot there. So interesting times, and I do believe we do want to see what can come out of it at the end of the day and who will really cap off the win. Let's remind you once again that this is the SK Network Seoul Economics Ladies Classic. This is the final round being played at the Pinks Golf Club. It's a par 72 that we're looking at with a total distance of about 6,171 meters. Park Hyun Kyung, who currently is ranked number 68 in the world. Her best ranking, of course, was 61. Her worst ranking was 76. Has played 57 events and got 100.40 points. I do believe this could be a game changer for her getting into this event here today. And I think it's going to be very, very interesting to find out what she can, well, do. Meanwhile, of course, just looking at the current rankings, in the KLPGA Championship and who will be, the winner of the top spot, Park Min-ji sits right in there on week 43 at rank 1. Park Hyun Kyung now. She's on to her next bit of action. This is so important for her hole number 15 as she aims for birdie. It's a huge distance. She's also got to navigate through that, well, curve. Oh, that's such an amazing shot. She deserves a 10 on 10 for that. May have not got the birdie, but that's such an amazing shot. Great amount of control, a perfect banana shot. And I think that that's what is really required. Just gauge that beautifully, the slope. And she'll keep her joint leadership intact. I think that's what you got to do. You got to avoid those mistakes. Oh, she's been fantastic to watch from, I think, part of day 2, round 2, and then in round 3. And this is the other golfer now that's tapping there, on that door for glory. It's Lee So-young. And I do believe there's much that she can do as well. She's got the ability. She's got the skill more than anything else. Aiming for birdie on hole number 15. And she's running neck and neck there with her counterpart, Park Hyun Kyung. Very similar situation. Has to gauge this well. Is that going to go in? Oh! That is painful. That is just painful, isn't it? Just off the rim. What an opportunity for her. So she's going to stay with that 7 under and play tag to Park Hyun Kyung. Well, she was in such a good position. That just kissed the rim. It just touched the rim, didn't it? Now here's Hwang Jung-mi on to hole 16, aiming for birdie. She could also get her score up if she nails it. I think just a tad bit too much of club on that. Was in a very good chance of pushing herself up to a 6 under. Bit unfortunate, I would believe. Park Ji-young. Will look to finish her event with an even score. There she is. Finishes with an even score, 36 on the front, 33 on the back 9. By So-hyun, meanwhile, aiming for birdie on hole 14, and yes, she does it. She's back up to that 5 under, and I would be excited. That is so very needed. Sung Yoo-jin for hole 18. Well, things are moving fairly fast. Remember, Park Hyun-kyung and Lee So-young are battling it out there for the title win. They are still right at the top of their game. 3 more holes to play. It's a very interesting one. And teeing off for hole 17 now. Here's Hwang Jung-mi. And she's got herself onto the carpet. I think she'll be quite happy with that. It isn't really too strong. Well, another one of the golfers I do love, of course, is Jeong Park. We just saw her finish with an even score in the event. Very stylistic golfer. Very interesting to watch. Has a very different style of play and temperament. Sung Yoo-jin looking to finish with an even score in this tournament. And yes, she does. It's a 4 under that she was carrying. Teeing off now at hole 17. Oh boy, that could have been a hole-in-one. So that's 7 under par score for Park Hyun-kyung. Still kept her at the top. She'll tee off for hole number 16. Packs in a good bit of power. Decent spot on the fairway. Very, very decent spot. And hole 18, 374 meters to cover. You've got those 2, well, sand bunkers on the left and the right. Remember, the asking is a par 4. And on to her second stroke. Here's Kim Min-byul. Giving that ball a good bit of a lift. You want to flight it as much as you can, and she's got herself onto the green. Well, a fairly decent effort. It's also going to crawl a bit closer towards the flagstick. So quick look, of course, at our, well, standings will tell us a little bit. But for now, it's back to Lee So-young as she tees off for hole number 16. And she's hooked that. Got to get a view of where that's going to land. It's, well, just got herself into a decent spot on the fairway too, so I don't think she's going to be too concerned about that. And sheer delight here for Lim Hee-jong. A birdie on hole 16 that'll take her to a 4 under. Hwang Jung-mi aims for birdie on hole 17, and that's going to be painfully away from its destination, so she'll have to settle for an on par. So what's interesting here is that although Im Jin-hee won the previous event, which was the Sang Sung-in Han-kyung TV Open, which was worth 1,200 million won. Quite a hefty order there. Now yes, Park Hyun-kyung. On to a second stroke for hole 16. So neither Park Hyun-kyung and neither Lee So-young have won an event this year. Keep in mind the fact that after the SK Network Seoul Economics Ladies Classic, we've got the S-Oil Championship for 900 million won and the SK Shield is SK Telecom Championship for, well, 1 million won. And that kicks off, sorry, that's more than, it's 100 million won and that kicks, 1,000 million won, sorry, and that kicks off, of course, on the 12th of November. The S-Oil Championship kicks off on the 5th of November. So just 2 more events left in the KLPGA Tour of 2023. Here's Lee Chae-yoon 2. So very good opportunity here for Lee So-young or Park Hyun-kyung to open up their account. Lee Chae-yoon 2 was doing so well, but she too will miss out. She too needed a win on the tour this year. She hasn't really picked out a title. Lee So-young up next. And that's well struck. Kim Ji-hyun aiming for birdie on hole 17, and yes, she's got it. Will bring her to a 1 over par score. She's got 1 more hole to play in the tournament. Kim Min-byul, what can she come up with here? Oh, what a narrow miss for her. Absolutely well done there to get that onto the green. Meanwhile, teeing off here again. It's back to the grind as Hwang Jong-mi goes in for the tee off on the 18th hole. Much is expected from her. Well, when most of her golfers are finishing, oh, that could have been a hole-in-one. That definitely could have been a hole-in-one. Tad bit unfortunate here. Park Hyun-kyung on hole 16. That's the 3rd stroke. Needs to get it onto the green. And that's perfectly placed. Can she up her score? Sigh of relief for her. And the first time that we've really seen her smile. Well, I think this has really been a hole that has also troubled her over the last couple of days. And she was just so excited to get it there. She's had a few worries on this particular hole. And there's no doubt about it that expression, well, will say it all for us. Here's Lee Chae-yoon too, on to hole 16. A bit unfortunate that she dropped out to that 4 under par score. Well, so much expected from her. For my money, she's been the best golfer to watch in this event, though Park Hyun-kyung, of course, would be a close second. And I'm only saying this because of the kind of temperament she's exuded. And yeah, you want to finish this off in style. Kim Min-byul finishes her event with a 3 under par score, 36 on the front, 34 on the back. Had a bogey on the 16th, a birdie on the 17th to rectify things, and I think she's done fairly well for herself. Here's Lee So-young now. Left to be seen what she brings to the table. It's hole number 16, 79 meters to the hole. That's going to be a third stroke. She's got to land the green, and she's got to land it fairly well. 79 meters. Oh, beautiful effort. Absolutely beautiful effort from her. And Park Hyun-kyung having a quick word there with the caddy. It's the 16th hole, of course. As I said, that was a bother for her. You can't call it a bogey hole, but a bit of a worry. So Park Hyun-kyung and Lee So-young continue to dominate now the leaderboard with that 7 under score. Hwang Jung-mi and Bae So-hyun, of course, with a 5 under. And that, of course, is, in tied third. So unless these top two do make a lot of mistakes, I think the battle is on between the two of them. I would hate to see it go down to a tie, although it might be exciting. It's always the most unfair way to end a contest. I liken it to, the penalty shootout in football. I just hate that, where it just changes the entire equation and the entire structure of the contest. Makes you kind of cringe to see, well, some great golfers go down in a tie. Let's remind you, of course, that we've just got 2 more events left to go in the KLPGA 2023 for the women. And it's been a very, very interesting time for us. We are going to find out, who is the champion of champions right at the end of the season. And that's all going to happen right here, of course. And we're going to be there to cover it for you. But all said and done, I do believe that the SK Networks Seoul Economic Ladies Classic has been an eye-opener. It's been a humble tournament that has actually put the golfers to the mental and physical test to a certain extent. Lee Chae-yun 2. Aiming for birdie on hole 16. Weather conditions, of course, looking just a tad bit, well, worrying. Meanwhile, at the other end of the spectrum, here's Wang Zhongmi. Second stroke for hole number 18. Using a 6-iron, if she can get a birdie up here, she could get up to a 6 under to finish off her event, which will be very, very interesting. I'll put her into a strong position for a runner-up finish. It's a very unique, setting, hole number 18. You've got that winding river or winding water hazard that runs through, and then there's a rocky area on the right. Lim Hee-jong will have to finish with an on par here. Meanwhile, here's Lee So-young aiming for birdie on hole number 16. She'll have to keep her wits about herself for this one. It's a tad bit of a distance. There's a bit of a decline there, and that looks like... Oh. Well, she's had so many of these heart-stopping moments. And it's another on-par finish for her. So she's still 7 under. And I think that that's a good thing, because she's still going to remain in there. We've seen these replays so often, and that expression from her, she can't believe it most times. Meanwhile, here's Park Hyun-kyung. Here's Park Hyun-kyung up next. And that's in. That is in. Talk about conquering your biggest obstacle. And here she is, Park Hyun-kyung, at hole number 16. She has nailed another birdie, and she's up to an 8 under par score, which means, of course, Park Hyun-kyung now leads the way. And I think this is really what golf is about. Conquering your fear. Quick bow from her. She had such a worrying time on that 16th hole. She was so happy to get it onto the green. And a birdie there, and that says it all. She had to take a bow, so 2 more holes to go. Now she leads with Lee So-young in second position. And this is going to be very, very interesting. These 2 holes are going to be the most interesting, of the entire 4 rounds. And it's going to be a defining moment. Will it go down to a tie? Or will Park Hyun-kyung nail it here? Lee So-young still, breathing down her neck. So a new leader once again, Park Hyun-kyung, restoring that top spot that she had lost. That all-important hole number 17 now. And these two ladies in the frame. Well, this is what the contest has come down to in the SK Network Seoul Economics Ladies Classic. Park Hyun-kyung will tee off for hole number 17, 149 meters. She's the current leader with an 8 under par score. Beautiful spot there on the green. Let's find out what, well, Lee So-young comes up with next. And here's Lee So-young teeing off for hole number 17. Also got herself a decent spot on the green, but left to be seen what can come up next. Let's run you very quickly through the rankings, because currently in the LPGA, the KLPGA Championship, Park Min-ji leads the way with 551.27 points on 45 events played. Oh, just missed out on a birdie there. Bit unfortunate. So Park Min-ji, of course, 12.2504 ranking points. Lee Won is second with 11.8214 ranking points and 662 total points after playing 56 events. And then, of course, you got Kim Soo-ji in third, Park Ji-young in fourth, Kim Min-byul in fifth, and Im Jin-hee in sixth, Lee So-mi seventh, Lee Da-yeon eighth, Bang Shin-sil ninth, and Hwang Yu-min in 10th. Meanwhile, here's Lee Chae-yoon too, using a 7 iron. She tees off for hole number 17, and she's in that trio with Lee So-young and, of course, Park Hyun-kyung. They've been the golfers in focus. Hwang Jung-mi looking for an on-par finish here for hole 18. She could have got to a 6 under par score, but she'll finish her event with a 5 under par score. And she's had, 4 birdies in there. She'll be happy about her performance. 36 on the front, 33 on the back 9. She's all smiles. And quick hugs there for her counterparts. Now these two ladies, of course, in the frame. That's a really great shot. They are the front runners, and then Lee Chae-yoon, who was the front runner for 2.5 rounds, just there in the background behind these two competitors. Lee Mi-jung with the second stroke on hole 18, looking to finish off her day's event as well. She was one of the bright stars at the start, dipped out of contention just a while back. Well, you want to get a hole in one, but sometimes when you can't, that's just going to dip over. Lee Chae-yoon too, going in with her next effort. It's been a hard one for her. This is hole 17. Remember, the penultimate hole of the contest. We're coming close to the finish of the SK Network Seoul Economics Ladies Classic. Here's Lee Chae-yoon too, aims for birdie on hole 17. She has to put in her best. She's got nothing to lose for this and the next hole. The pressure is on, of course, Lee So-young and Park Hyun-kyung. And that's what I meant by she's been the golfer to watch for this event. She's been cheery, she's been delightful, she's produced some great shots. So more power to her, and I do wish all the best for the next, 2 tournaments. But there she is, finishes with an on-par score. We'll keep that 4 under. And you really want to see that with most golfers. Well, she was in a very strong position to win this tournament. Started off in round 1 where she had an 8 under. And in round 2, of course, those trying conditions changed the equation for all the golfers. Now here's Lee So-young. She will aim for birdie. Lee So-young. She's on to hole 17. Well, that is absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic from Lee Se-young. Now she's the joint leader with an 8 under par score. So it's all left to Park Hyun-kyung to do for this next one. And this is just going down to the wire between these two young golfers. Absolutely marvelous play from Lee Se-young and, of course, well, Park Hyun-kyung. And that really says it all, doesn't it? It really does say it all. Park Hyun-kyung, the pressure on her this time. Oh, and what a miss. She could have kept that leadership intact, which means she's going to be now joint first with that on par finish, and it's all gone down to the 18th hole. That'll define who the winner is in today's event. And that expression would have said it all. So on to the 18th hole, 374 meters, par 4 for the asking. Very tricky on the outer edges of that green where it all slopes downwards and out. What a chance here. You would have thought, but Lee Se-young just getting herself onto the green. Lee Jae-young next. It's her 18th hole. She aims for birdie. Oh, what a U-turn! What a U-turn! What a fabulous effort from her. And what a terrible U-turn. Oh. But she'll be delighted with those efforts. Lee Jae-young finishes with a 2 underscore, 36 on the front, 34 on the back, almost birdied the last one. Meanwhile, teeing off here for hole 18. Well, we did have Lee So-young first. Here she is, Park Hyun-kyung. Beautiful shot from her. Do love that slow-mo camera that's captured that. And a real amount of body in that follow-through, as you can see. Well, she does swing it entirely. Lovely follow-through. Lee Sung-yeon will miss out on a birdie on the 18, but that puts her, well, just a tad bit closer to the destination. And that'll be a decent enough finish for Lee Sung-yeon. 64, 81, 69 and 73 consecutively in the rounds. Finishes with a 1 under score in this event. What a chance here to have just finished off, well, her 18th in flamboyant style. There will always be trials for every single golfer, and we do know that. So here's Lim Hee-jong. Will look for an on-par finish for hole 18. And that's exactly what she does. So she finishes, well, her event elegantly. 72, 68, 73 and 72 respectively in the 4 rounds. A 3 under score to cap it off with. Lee Chae-yoon too. She's on to her second stroke for hole 18. She will be very eager to finish on a positive note. And that's a tad bit of a worry. She's got herself, well, not into the water, but she's got onto the rough. And I do think, well, a birdie might be out of the question, but you never know. Lee Chae-yoon too, capable of bringing in those surprises, and she's done that a couple of times over in the past. Park Hyun-kyung onto her second stroke, 137 meters to the hole. She's a joint leader. Now everything depends on this. She has also got herself onto the rough, just like her counterpart Lee Chae-yoon too. And she's a tad bit disappointed with that. Lee So-young. And Lee So-young's got herself onto the green. Well, that's the best shot of the trio. Now left to be seen who will come up with the goods here. What an effort here from these golfers. And it's all come down to this. Well, the next two strokes. Well, I'm waiting with bated breath. Let's remind you once again that this is the SK Network's Seoul Economics Ladies Classic. We've had, well, 4 days of exciting golf, and we just come down to the last two strokes on hole 18th. And this is one of the key players here. Park Hyun-kyung did not have the best shot on the second stroke, but she's got Lee So-young to contend with. Both of them are joint leaders. That's Lee So-young. They are carrying an 8 under par score. And the spectators, the fans, the families, their friends, everyone, coaches, they're all waiting around there. Delightful to watch these two golfers. Park Hyun-kyung, she's been elegant. She's been absolutely stunning to watch in these last two rounds. Lee So-young, a silent creeper up to the top spot. Oh, what a change. It's been, and we did know there was always going to be a change and, you know, an entire turnaround when it comes to these golfers. So, and the leaderboard standings. So we're down to these last two holes. There's Lee Chae-yoon too, who's got to get out of the rough. So has, well, Park Hyun-kyung. Park Hyun-kyung looks like she'll go first. So Lee Chae-yoon 2 up next. And that's gone right around the flagstick. It's going to be now a big question as to what, well, our next golfer can come up with, and that, of course, looks like it'll be Park Hyun-kyung to go next. So very important to focus on this, to keep her wits together. Well, she's going to miss out on the birdie here, Park Hyun-kyung. Now, very interesting to see what Lee So-young can come up with. A battle of the best here, there's no doubt about it. And just looking at that, well, list will tell us a bit of a story. Lee So-young, can she birdie this? And that's going to sail away as well, which means it looks like it's going to be, well, what's looking to be like a tie here. Oh, what an event this is turning out to be. And Lee Chae-yoon too will finally finish off her event. Well, it's been a learning experience for her. Will finish with a smile as always. There she goes. What a finish on round 1. 64 there and dropping off into the 70s in round 2, 3 and 4. Now it's all come down to these two ladies, Park Hyun-kyung and Lee So-young, both in very familiar positions, equidistant from the, well, can. And she'll finish with an even score, an even par. Yeah, which means it's, and that performance says at 67, 76, 68 and 69. Fabulous on day 1, day 3 and day 4. She finishes with an 8 under par score. Now it's left to be seen what Lee So-young can do. And if there is a tie, of course, we will go into extra time. There will be a decider, a tiebreaker to sort things out. And she finishes with an 8 under par score as well, which means she's pushed it into a tie there with Park Hyun-kyung. Well, what a gutsy performance from her. Im Jin-hee teeing off for hole number 18.
갈게요. 잠시만 내려가 주세요. 네. 감사합니다. 실례하겠습니다.
And while we do wait for the playoff between the top two, we still have the other golfers who are finishing off their, well, event. Remember, it's hole 18. There are still a couple of golfers left in there. Lee Dayon next to tee off for hole 18. She was in stellar form over the last couple of days. And here we have our golfers. Lee Chae-young, of course, missing out on any opportunity. But, well, Lee So-young, along with, well, Park Hyun-kyung will get ready for the playoff. Lee So-young and Park Hyun-kyung just biding their time. And still going through the motions here, we have our other golfers who've got to finish off their, well, event. Here's Lee Da-yeon going in with the second stroke for hole number 12. Oh, lovely placement there. Absolutely lovely placement there. Well, when you want to do your best and get it onto the green, and that's the best way to go, to get it up there. That is so needed. $119 to the hole for Im Jin Hee. It's hole 18 for her. Oh, beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And if you want to go out, you want to go out in style, and she knows it. She's like, why didn't that happen earlier? Whoops of joy and good encouragement here for our young golfers as they get through the final bits and bobs of this event. By So-hyun. Well, proved herself to be one of the contenders for the event. It's a performance that I think a lot of golf fans are going to remember for a long time to come.
물 가지고 있어? 물. 있어요?
감사합니다.
너무 조금 있네. 오, 이거 있다.
위원님.
위원님 있어요. 내 거 있었네.
이거 뽀라긴 해야 돼요.
Alpha's getting ready to go ahead with the motions here and to go ahead with that playoff for the top spot. They will play the 18th hole, there's no doubt about it. when you come towards the end of round 4, and after 4 grueling days, although the weather's been fairly pleasant, no rain, which is a good thing. It's a kind of temperature that I like, that dips between 10 and lower, and sometimes right up till 19. Lee Dayon aiming for birdie on hole 18. It'll be a positive for her to finish off this event after she too has had a trying time. That looks like she'll have to settle for an even score. Quick conversation there between the caddies and the officials, of course, having a word with them. Bae So-hyun looking to finish off, well, her tournament with the birdie as well. And she'll have to wait for another turn. Picture of concentration, these ladies here. Park In-kyung, she's all smiles. Meanwhile, here's Im Jin-hee. And Im Jin-hee finishes in style. Well, that's exactly what she wanted, and that's exactly what she's done. She's all smiles. She did win the last tournament, but she'll keep her points up there for the main ranking, and that's going to be interesting. Lee Dayon looking for an on-par finish for hole number 18. That's exactly what she'll do as well. Just to get a view of her final, it's 71, 70, 70 and 75. Hasn't been her best on day 4. Quick hug from her caddy, and that's encouragement. Caddies are normally more than just your guides, your companions, your friends. They serve a very different purpose, and I believe some of the greatest golfers have the best caddies ever. They're there to lift you up when your spirit's down or when you're going through a rough patch. They're there to keep you grounded. Also, when you are exuberant or you've just won a tournament, they're great guides more than companions. It's just great. I mean, even for counsel. Bae So-hyun, who thrilled us on round 3. Well, here she is looking to finish with an on par for hole number 18 to end her tournament. And she does that well. She will be back, and we will see a lot more of this young lady. 70, 70, 71, and 73 in all. So here goes that final moment that we've been waiting for as our other golfers have finished off their event. So here's Park Hyun Kyung. That's a look at that 16th hole where, you know, it was a game changer here. It was about conquering that hole which had troubled her through the last 3 rounds, and she nailed it with a birdie to take her score to an 8 under. And in hole 17, it was a change because Lee So-young came back and nailed that 8 under par score with a beautiful birdie. And this is where I think, you know, Park Hyun Kyung just lost out. She could have finished the job had she finished with a birdie here on hole 17, but she failed there. Or not failed really, but she finished with an even score. And that's what made the difference. So here we are, the playoff now between these two fantastic golfers, Park Hyun Kyung. Hole 18, it's what we're looking at. And she's got herself, well, a tad bit onto the rough. Left to be seen how, well, Lee So-young performs now. That's an absolutely strong shot. It's got a good spot on the fairway. And Lee So-young just now looking a little bit more confident than, well, her counterpart. And we will use the buggies because you really want to make sure that you're saving on time. You've got family, friends, coaches, fans who are just waiting around there. So no more long walks for our golfers. And Park Hyun Kyung, well, she was my pick for this tournament over the last 3 days. Have been really delighted to watch her in action. She's been absolutely phenomenal. But can't take anything away from Lee So-young. She's been that really hard-working golfer. She's stuck close. She's was breathing down Park Hyun Kyung's neck, and she's kind of played tag and is running, well, neck to neck now. Very important now to figure on the second stroke what she can do. She's got to land it on the green. She's got to land it close to the flagstick. That's so important. Park Hyun Kyung. And there she goes. And that's a tough ask now to aim for birdie. She does know it. Lee So-young will fly with her second stroke. I'm just going to get a view of that, and that looks like it's going to be heading closer to the flagstick. Oh, that puts her in such a strong position now. Lee So-young and Park Hyun Kyung. And she's got a smile on her face. She knows how important that is for her. Oh, what an effort from Lee So-young. And she is happy. Well, let's get a view of that. She's actually progressed with her confidence in these last 4 or 5 holes. Proved to be an excellent fighter, yeah. Park Hyun Kyung. She's got a task on hand. She's at a greater distance from the can than her closest competitor, Lee So-young. It's a huge distance if you look at it, and I think she's just trying to gauge the slope. It's a terrific distance for her to cover. I don't think it's going to be too easy.
십자가 살짝 오른쪽 봐. 중간에 많이 들어가니까 십자가 오른쪽. 중간에 많이 들어가니까.
So much depends on this moment for Park Hyun-kyung. This is the defining stroke, if you ask me. Oh, that's just unfortunate. Just a tad bit unfortunate here. Park Hyun-kyung, well, she gauged that slope so beautifully. Lovely banana from her. I think just a bit of a worry. And she pretty much kind of feels it. It was a great distance to cover, and it was not easy with that incline. That ball just turning to the left a bit earlier. So Lee So-young, well, she's closest, and if she nails the birdie, this could be the championship moment for her. She got herself really, really close. That shouldn't be too difficult for her to conquer that. And it's a bit painful here for Park Hyun-kyung. She knows it. She was right there with a chance to cap it off with a win. I can't help but feel really sorry for her. She's been absolutely fantastic. But Lee So-young, what a fighter. What an absolute fighter. A birdie for a win. Now, and she's just narrowly missed out on a birdie. Oh boy. Stranger things have happened on a golf course. So very near. She had such a perfect second stroke. And she knows it. Lee So-young, looking at her, currently ranked 91 in the Rolex rankings. Her best ranking was 70 this year. Her worst has been 91. A win here for her will propel her up the rankings, not just in the KLPGA, but on the Rolex World Rankings. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens, with this very, very event. It's Park Hyun-kyung next. And she's done well to keep an even score. I don't think it should be, and that just brings it back to square one. It shouldn't be too difficult for Lisa Young to just clean that up with an even score as well. So hope springs eternal for Park Yun Kyung, and Lisa Young just needs to keep her cool to gently nudge that in. Shouldn't be difficult at all. So buggy service will be in full swing here today if Lisa Young just keeps it together. Now that's not a difficult putt, is it? It's just a very straight putt. Shouldn't be difficult for any golfer, but at this level and at this very moment in the contest, you've got to be careful. So there it is. An even score there again on the 18th. It looks like this contest is going to roll on. So as I said, buggy service is back in business. No need to call a taxi service. So get ready as our golfers will tee off again for the 18th. It's deja vu all over again. Yes, Park Yun Kyung. And she's knocked that confidently this time. And she's got a decent spot on the fairway. No more of the rough here, so that's going to be interesting. Now let's figure out what Lisa Young can come up with. We saw Lisa Young, well, she could have actually finished it off in the previous, in the first, well, hole of the playoff. Well, both these golfers in it to win it. I am enjoying the contest. And this time Lee So-young, not the best spot that she's got. So let's figure out if, well, the second stroke can really define the moment. There's a duck in the water there. Absolutely love that. I don't know, but I always grew up along the waterside, so I actually have a really soft corner for golf courses that have a lot of water hazards, or more importantly, that do have water, like oceanside golf, courses. Absolutely love them. Absolutely love the ducks in the water as well. Spent a lot of my childhood, going down to the ponds or the rivers close to my house, feeding the ducks. So I always love them being around. It's just the nicest sight for me. And she's got to get out of that cat box there. I wouldn't put anything past her, Lee So-young. She can come up with some great performances. She's proved that in the last, couple of days. On to that second stroke, and this is so important. They're almost parallel, but it's just the direction. Lee So-young landing in the cat box. Park Hyun-kyung, 131 meters to the hole. It's a very, very important stroke for her. She's not really taking too much of time. She's just going at it confidently. And this time, well, she's put herself onto the green, but still it's at quite a distance. But I do believe it's easier to navigate yourself from that front of the green than getting to behind the can, because that's when the slope becomes really tricky. Now, out of the cat box. She's got a fairly clear side of the green, so I don't think there should be too much of a worry here for Lee So-young. It's a second playoff, 99 meters to the hole. She covered more of distance than Park Hyun-kyung did in her drive, but I do believe that what really matters is what happens now. And I do believe she's got herself into a bit of a puddle there. Oh, this is just turning out to be a battle, isn't it? 4 ducks in the background. Do hope you love that sight. And Lee So-young, she's just going to be a tad bit concerned, I'm sure. Now that area of hole 18, always deceptive, because even though the camera does track the ball, sometimes you can see that the ball lands on the rough that's right on the banks, and it doesn't really hit the water, but in some cases it can. So let's figure out where exactly Lee So-young has landed. She can get sight of it. She's actually following it through. This is never really an indicator. And just checking where the ball is, of course. That's a very tricky area of the course, and it's in the water. It's right there, we can see it. If only there was a duck to just pop it out and put it onto the banks. Oh, I do think this is just slightly troubled times. And the caddy, of course, just trying to locate where the ball really is. The officials are around as well. So Lee So-young, I wonder whether it's going to be a stroke penalty for her. Well, I'd hate to see it end that way. So that's what a playoff does, isn't it? It could be the same hole and you'll have three different outcomes in three different playoffs. On two different playoffs, two different outcomes. Neck and neck on hole 18. Neck and neck on the first playoff, and in the second playoff here. Well, I don't know whether that was the right area that Lee So-young hit or whether it was out here. And I think the officials just trying to check. Lee So-young just confirming where she did believe the ball fell. Well, it's certain that the ball is in the water, but it's just about where she's going to take that next stroke from. Well, I would hate to see it end that way as well.
지나온 지점에서 하는 거 아니야? 지금 저쪽에서 보고 했었을 때 기점이 여기라고 지금 하거든요. 지나온 지점이요? 왜냐면 거기 노란 페널티 구역을 넘어서서 최종적으로 넘어갈 기점이 여기 넘어간 게.
So a few troubled times here for Lee So-young. So Lee So-young has to go in for a stroke penalty. She's got herself amazingly close, but which means that she's going to land up, well, bogeying that. So a tad bit unfortunate for her, but let's find out whether, well, Park Hyun-kyun can take advantage of the situation, because if she lets this slip through, well, she's going to remember it for life. So this is very important for Park Hyun-kyun as she gets ready. Gauging the situation properly. Has to be very careful this time. Park Hyun Kyung. 0 mistakes required for this moment. It's not the most difficult of shots to take. Aiming for birdie. Park Hyun Kyung. Oh, that's as close as she could get. But she can still finish with an even score. And she'll still get the better of, Lee So-young. She's going to take her time. Well, Lee So-young will end up bogeying this one. Lee So-young aiming for bogey here. It's a very important part of the contest. And she's just missed out on it, which means it's going to be a double bogey for her. Well, not the best way to have ended this playoff, but it is worrying. So Lee So-young aiming for a double bogey. And she's finally finished it. Now it's all left to play for. If Park Hyun Kyung can finish it off with that even score, she will be the queen of the SK Network's Seoul Economics Ladies Classic. And that's what she's done to win the playoff and the tournament. So in the second playoff, Park Hyun Kyung reigned supreme. What a contest this was. And Park Hyun Kyung, SK Network Seoul Economics Ladies Classic winner, queen of the tournament. She gets doused by her co-competitors and her friends. Well, Lee Chae-yoon was another one of those competitors. She's a good mate of hers. 23 years old, her first win in the KLPGA 2023, and I think it's a worthy effort for her. Absolutely fantastic to have finished off and capped it off with a win here. So she meant her rankings, of course, will change. She's currently 61 in the world, has been her best ranking, and that's even going to go up further. Amidst that joy, she was silent right through. There'll be tears of joy as well. Absolutely phenomenal performance from Park Hyun Kyung, especially in that second playoff. She kept her calm, and what a way to have done it. There'll be a few good moments in the tournament to show, as well as the prize presentation. Do stay with us, don't go anywhere. Friends, sisters, they're all around. End of the day, competition aside, I did say there'd be tears of joy. She's a young girl, just like so many of our young golfers out there, and there's always There's just such a great feeling of celebration. There's such a great feeling of triumph, of your own self-review that comes into play, and it's so important at a time like this. So she will take home, of course, as we said earlier, that main prize money of 144 million won, which is 105,883 USD. Let's not forget that Lee So-young will take home 88 million won, and of course the second runners-up will take home 64 million won. The total prize money, of course, that will be distributed is 800 million won, which is about 588,560 US dollars. So what a performance this has been, and absolutely wonderful event. And that's the winner, the queen of the course here in 2023 at the Pinks course in Jeju-do. She's a very elegant, a very sincere golfer. Got a fairly huge fan following. So there it is, Park Hyun-kyung at the top with 8 under par score. Lee So-young also with 8 under par, and that playoff, of course, leading to Park Hyun-kyung winning it. Wang Jung-mi is a second runners-up with her 5 under par, and she'll take home 64 million won. And Bang Shin-sil, Sung Yoo-jin, Im Jin-hee, Lee Chae-yoon-too, and Bai So-hyun. Bai So-hyun and Lee Chae-yoon-too were also those really the front runners. They were the main contenders still yesterday, and that's all changed, of course, on day 4. So the Pinks Golf Club, we did have the use of the East and the West course, and what an interesting event this has been. Well, so happy for Park Hyun-kyung to have nailed her first win of the year, and Lee So-young, of course, was backing her as well. But at the end of the day, there can only be one winner. We will have the prize presentation in just a little bit, so do stay with us. Don't go
네,
anywhere.
안녕하세요. 감사합니다. 네. 사실 오랜만에 이제 우승 인터뷰라 어떤 말을 먼저 시작해야 할지 잘 모르겠지만 진짜 죄송해요. 어떡해. 이제 통산 3번째 우승 이후에 이제 2년 반 만에 우승을 했는데 그 시간 동안 이제 9번의 준우승을 하면서 좀 내가 그렇게 기회를 좀 잘 못 잡는 선수인가라는 좀 그런 의심이 들 때 가장 힘들었던 것 같고, 그래도 결코 쉬운 순간들이 한순간도 없었지만 저를 정말 많이 믿고 응원해주신 분들이 많아서 또 이렇게 잘 이겨내고 우승할 수 있었던 것 같아요. 사실 요즘 최근에 샷감이 굉장히 좋았기 때문에 좀 기술적인 문제보다는 내가 내 마음을 어떻게 컨트롤을 해야 할까 이제 이런 고민을 하면서 경기를 시작했는데 그래도 많이 다스리려고 노력한 덕분에 좀 좋은 샷감을 유지하면서 이렇게 우승할 수 있었던 것 같아요. 네. 네, 사실 아직 뭐 파이널 라운드나 본선이 아니었기 때문에 2라운드여서 그냥 제 샷을 믿고 플레이를 하자 했는데 생각보다는 타수를 많이 잃지 않아서 조금 더 기대가 되는 본선을 치른 것 같아요. 네. 그 상황이 이제 8번 아이언 샷을 하는데 숙성 앞바람이어서 굉장히 오른쪽 공간이 없는데도 불구하고 이제 조금 남은 홀들을 공격적으로 쳐야 되겠다는 생각이 들어서 과감하게 이제 그린 우측을 보고 샷을 했는데 너무 조금만 더 밀렸으면 정말 해저드에 다시 들어갈 뻔했는데 운이 좋게도 그게 거리가 잘 맞아서 찬스를 만들었던 것 같아요. 네, 네 맞습니다. 사실 아빠랑 하면서 든든한 마음이 있는 것도 사실이고 특히 이렇게 제주도 바람이나 좀 안 좋은 상황에서 아빠께서의 그 경험이 조금 더 저에게 도움을 더 많이 주는 것 같고 퍼팅 라이도 저보다 아빠가 더 잘 보신다고 생각하기 때문에 제가 퍼팅을 조금 더 믿고 잘 할 수 있었던 것 같아요. 근데 제가 이제 이전에 했던 3번의 우승이 모두 다 무관중일 때 우승을 했어서 정말 수도 없이 수백 번, 수천 번 이런 생각을 한 것 같아요. 팬분들 앞에서 우승을 하는 모습을 정말 많이 상상해 왔는데 오늘 이렇게 이루어져서 정말 더 뜻깊은 이번 우승인 것 같습니다. 감사합니다. 감사한 분. 감사한 분. 일단 제가 이렇게 오랜만에 우승을 하기까지 믿고 기다려주신 저희 한국토지신탁 차정은 회장님, 최은성 부회장님, 김정선 사장님의 임직원분들 너무 감사드리고 그다음에 오랜 시간 동안 항상 저와 함께 해주시는 이제 이민기 회장님, 우진석 회장님, 다른 이제 많은 분들께 감사드리고 그리고 지금 이렇게 TV로 봐주실 저희 엄마랑 제 가족분들 드디어 이렇게 우승을 하는 모습 보여드려서 너무 행복하고 마지막으로 그리고 저를 조금 더 좋은 선수로 성장시켜주시는 이시우 프로님 감사드립니다. 그리고 마지막으로 저희 큐티풀 팬분들 진짜 정말 많이 저의 4번째 우승을 바래주셨는데 이렇게 보답해드릴 수 있어서 정말 행복하고 앞으로도 저와 함께 아름다운 동행을 해주셨으면 좋겠습니다. 그리고 마지막으로 아빠 감사드려요. 감사합니다.
Just a few words there from our winner, Park Hyun-kyung. And now, of course, a look at some of the best, events that we've had. Here's Park Hyun-kyung on the second hole. And that's where she really stood her ground, had that beautiful birdie there. It was absolutely marvelous. And then on the fourth hole, we had Lee So-young also coming up with a birdie. Lee So-young just showing what a hard-working, tough golfer does. And she really, played to the gallery here today. But Park Hyun-kyung, looking elegant, beautiful as ever, really came up with a stellar performance. And on the fifth hole, of course, we had Bae So-yoon also coming up with a birdie. It was a fantastic moment for her. She really defined what a climber is on round 3. Then on the ninth hole, we had Lee So-young back again. She went in with that second stroke and then, so close to have actually nailed it with an eagle, but she finished off with a birdie. On the 14th hole, and that was Bang Shin-sil. She too was one of the main contenders for a bit. And that ball just being afraid of the dark, but she tapped it in easy. Then on the 16th hole here was Park Hyun-kyung back again. And this was the one that she conquered. I think it was the most important hole for her. The most important moment for her. And that said it all. It was a self-triumph there. Just bettering her own performance. And that's when she broke into a smile. She was really happy with that moment. And then the 17th hole, what a defining moment, what a fight and a comeback from a 7 under par score, and a birdie there for Lee So-young that took her to 8 under par, and once again as co-leader of the event, which meant that she was back in the running for the title. And then, of course, in the first playoff, it was a distance to cover for Park Hyun-kyung, and it did, of course, draw out her best. She got really close, but that banana effort from her just falling shy and bending a bit earlier to the left. And then, of course, Lee So-young, she was so close to the flagstick, but from that uneven surface and that, decline or that descent, it just sloped down, and her effort going past the can. And then, of course, in the second playoff, it was the entire change that we looked at. Very good effort coming in from Park Hyun-kyung as she really nailed it well. Got herself onto the green, but this was the stumbling block, I do believe, for Lee So-young. She got herself into the cat box, and then, her second stroke from the cat box landed herself into a puddle. And I think that water hazard really poured water onto all her efforts. And that was the turning point in this. We did think, of course, that Park Hyun-kyung would have nailed it with a birdie. She couldn't, so she finished with an even score. Finished on par on the second playoff, and she claimed the tournament. So worthy win for her. Sometimes playoffs can be very daunting and tiring, but here we go with the prize presentation. Do stay with us.
다음으로는 공동 주최사이신 SK 핑크스 강석현 대표이사 사장님 참석하셨습니다. 역시나 뜨거운 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
Representatives of SK Networks, senior management. Then, of course, you'll have the course director, you'll have the KLPGA, head, the director as well.
SK 네트워크스 서울경제 레이디스 클래식 본선 진출 선수들의 사인이 담긴 사인 액자 전달식이 있겠습니다. 대회 주간 사인
So new name will be added to the KLPGA winners this year.
부회장님께서 대회 공동 주최사인 서울경제신문 손동영 대표이사 사장님과 또 공동 주최사이신 SK 핑크스 강석현 대표이사 사장님에게 전달해 주시겠습니다. 이번 대회 우승자인 박현경 프로의 사인이 가운데 크게 들어가 있는 이번 대회 사인 액자가 두 분께 전달이 되었습니다. 앞을 향해서 기념 촬영을 하도록 하겠습니다. 네, 세 분 카메라를 향해 활짝 웃어주시기 바랍니다. 네, 감사합니다. 자, 그럼 이제 본격적으로 시상을 진행해 보도록 하겠습니다. 시상은 특별상과 우승자 시상 순으로 진행이 됩니다. 먼저 코스 레코드입니다. SK 네트워크스 서울경제 레이디스 클래식이 열린 이곳 핑크스 골프클럽은 2017년 진행됐던 SK 네트워크스 서울경제 레이디스 클래식 2라운드에서 63타를 기록한 이적은 식스 프로의 기록이 있는데요. 아쉽게도 이번 대회에서는 코스 레코드가 나오지 않았습니다. 이어서 홀인원 시상입니다. 이번 대회 홀인원이 총 3군데 준비가 되어 있었습니다. 먼저 5번 홀에는 4천만 원 상당의 프레드리 콘스탄트 뉴 하이라이프 퍼페추얼 캘린더, 그리고 14번 홀에는 1,000만 원 상당의 벤골프 아이언 세트, 17번 홀에는 8천만 원 상당의 기아 자동차 EV9이 걸려 있었습니다. 하지만 역시나 아쉽게도 이번 대회에서 홀인원은 나오지 않았습니다. 자, 다음은 준우승 시상입니다. 준우승 시상은 서울경제신문 손동영 대표이사 사장님께서 수고해 주시겠습니다. 앞으로 나와주시죠. SK 네트워크스 서울경제 레이디스 클래식 준우승을 차지한 프로는 4라운드 총 280타를 기록한 롯데골프단 소속의 이소영 프로입니다. 축하드립니다.
And that's our runner-up.
이소영 프로에게는 축하의 꽃다발과
Almost winner, if you ask me. But she's done really well, Lee So-young, as she receives the runners-up.
네, 기념 촬영 갖도록 하겠습니다. 앞을 향해 뛰어난 경기를 보여준 이소영 프로에게
So that's interesting.
축하의 박수 부탁드립니다. 자, 그럼 이제 SK 네트워크스 서울경제 레이디스 클래식 대망의 우승자 시상을 진행.